Hi, it's Steve Hargadon, and welcome to another Library 2.0 mini conference. This is the Innovative Library, Creativity, Change, and Impact. Thanks to our founding partner, San Jose State University School of Information. We've been doing this for 15 years, and it's been a great pleasure. I'm now going to turn some time over to Dr. Anthony Chow, who will give a welcome from San Jose State.
Thank you very much, Steve. Good morning, afternoon, evening to everyone. Welcome. I'm Dr. Anthony Chow, Director of the School of Information at San Jose State, and thank you for joining the Innovative Library, Creativity, Change, and Impact. We're thrilled that you're all here. Today's online program runs 12 to 3 Pacific time with a keynote panel, crowdsourced lightning talks, closing keynote. Please jump into the chat, share your takeaways throughout, and amplify ideas by using the hashtags Innovative Library and Library 2025. Recordings will be available afterwards. Why the Innovative Library? Because libraries don't adapt to change, they lead it. Across our communities, we're turning creative ideas into better services, stronger partnerships, and measurable impact. As you listen today, I challenge you to identify one practice that you can take home and implement in the next 90 days. But first, a few thank yous. Special thanks to Dr. Sandy Hirsch and Steve Hargadon for their vision, commitment, and lasting impact through the Library 2.0 webinars. Your leadership has really helped shape this field and this community. Also, special gratitude to our special conference chair, Kelvin Watson, and of course, the School of Information at San Jose State for founding and supporting this conference. Most of all, thank you to all of you and definitely the expert panel that you have before us. Your presence and your willingness to share are what make this community so powerful. With that, let's jump in and get inspired. Kelvin, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chow. And again, to everyone again as well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome. And so I'm so pleased to be a part of this panel and just keynoting and with these esteemed library professionals, Sonia, Jamar, Dianne, and Michael. So I'll jump right into the questions, and I want to say good afternoon. I think all of you are in the afternoon now to the panelists. So I want to start with you, Dianne. Please share some aspects of innovation and or something your library system has implemented.
Okay. Happy to. Pottsboro, Texas, little bitty rural town in North Texas. And advocacy has really been on our mind a lot lately. And along with that, we've gotten 3 grants to do different civic engagement, civic education kind of programs, a variety. And so I attended a conference. Somebody said, embrace the friction. We've had a lot of friction in libraries and in Texas. And in particular, my state representative had sponsored legislation to ban books. So embracing the friction, I invited her here to the library, and she came and was impressed with what she saw. So much so that she offered to come back and do role playing with people in the community, how to make public comments. If you're meeting with a representative and you only have 3 minutes, what do you say? How do you make calls, emails? So she is still supporting book banning, but I feel like building relationships is an important step in getting the word out about what libraries do. So that's something we've been working on.
And Sonia, what about you? What you guys had going on at Baltimore County?
Thanks, Kelvin. We've got a lot of exciting things happening at Baltimore County Public Library. I'll start by saying that public libraries are hyper-local institutions, right? And so the thing that might be meaningful and innovative to you and your library system might be old hat for another library system and another community. I think it's about paying attention to what it is that your community wants and what they need, and pushing the boundaries beyond what is possible or beyond what you've done before to address those community needs. At BCPL, we launched a couple of years ago our long-term lending program. And I think it was inspired by New York Public Library and Boston Public Library that had initiatives like that, where we loan hotspots. A lot of library systems loan hotspots. At this point, we have over 1,000 Wi-Fi hotspots in our collection, but they only check out for 3 weeks at a time. And so our long-term lending program it attempts to address some of the digital equity gaps that we're seeing in our community, where people can check out. At the time, it was a high-speed router that allowed up to 30 connections simultaneously, and or a Chromebook, which is device plus internet. And those check out for 6 months at a time. And so initially it was a pilot. We've since made it a permanent part of what we do. We've moved away from the routers and moved towards hotspots and just having them available for longer checkout periods of time. Again, that 6-month period of time. Again, may not be, it's not necessarily something that's entirely new under the sun, but it was innovative for us and really addressed a significant need in our community.
Thanks, Sonia. I like that you pointed that out and said that, because innovation is always not just about something necessarily new. It could be borrowed, as I kind of talk about. So, hey, Michael, what's about San Francisco?
Well, we're not even circulating hotspots, Sonia. So you are light years ahead of us in San Francisco. From my standpoint as the city librarian, my aspiration is bottom-up innovation. And I read a book years ago that inspired me. It's called The Leadership Challenge by 2 authors, Coos and Posner. I put the record in the chat for anybody that wants to check it out. So essentially, I'm trying to tap into the underutilized talent, the skill sets, the subject matter expertise, the passion of my 900 strong workforce. So some examples of that this evening, I'm going to go to the Mission District, which is a predominantly Latinx community in San Francisco. And my small business librarian, she has organized what's called a small business boogie. And she gets, a half dozen or more small businesses that are interested in participating. And we invite members of the community to come together and basically walk the neighborhood and visit these various businesses. So this is an example of our small business center, our librarians, supporting economic development and the economic recovery of San Francisco, and being entrepreneurial in our approach to connecting with the community. One other example of my staff, just being creative and innovative. We had an exhibition recently. It was called Skateboarding San Francisco, Concrete, Community, and Continuity. And it highlighted the history of skateboarding in San Francisco and how San Francisco has been a mecca that has influenced street skateboarding all over the world. And we got a great response. There was lots of tie-ins with community partners. But really, for me, I don't have the best ideas as the CEO, and I'm always trying to find those nuggets amongst my staff.
I thought you were going to put that business boogie along with the skateboarding, but we'll probably get to that. That's a future program. I just gave it to you, Michael. Hey, Jamar, tell us, hey, congratulations to Jamar, the new CEO, library director at Cuyahoga County. I think he's 2 weeks in, maybe, or something like that. Maybe shorter, but he'll tell you about that. And tell us a little bit about Delaware, and maybe what you've already seen, if you've seen anything that may be focused on in Cuyahoga County.
I would say, first with Cuyahoga County, every new building that we're building has innovation centers, and we're erecting innovation centers in existing spaces. And so the staff here have done a wonderful job with activating those spaces. And so what I see as innovative is that in many of these innovation centers, we have really developed entrepreneurial ecosystems. At one of our innovation centers, it focuses on fiber arts, and so a young lady was able to go there and design prom dresses and consequently start a small business. And from using the innovation center, she was able to find mentors who had small businesses that helped her in the initial phases. And then her way of giving back to the library and to the community is that she's partnered up with some of the fashion design schools, and she mentors young fashion design artists at the library. So the innovation centers again have been used to develop entrepreneurial ecosystems, and having somebody start a small business by virtue of using the library, I think is groundbreaking and cutting edge. And back to my experience in Wilmington, Delaware, that's a very small community. It's predominantly African American, and we had many of our constituents there. They've never even traveled to Philadelphia, which is 30 minutes away. So what we did, we just decided to bring the world to them. And we've hosted some of the most prolific and influential, Black and brown voices across the nation. We reunited the cast of A Different World. We hosted Dolly Parton, Master P, Felicia Rashad, Omari Hardwick. We reunited the cast of Good Times. We hosted Malcolm Jamal Warner, before he passed. May he rest in peace. So like Sonia had mentioned, and my other, colleagues, we, it's community engagement hovers at the epicenter of any type of, it's community engagement is what brings about, innovation.
Thanks, Jamar. Yeah, all of us were, I think, jealous with all of the stars and everybody you were bringing to Wilmington. So congratulations to you and the staff at Wilmington for doing that. Hey, so I'm going to jump to a question that Michael kind of teased, Jamar, you kind of teased it as well. And I'm going to actually start with you, Michael. So you talked about the staff. And so my question is, how do you foster a culture of experimentation and innovation among your staff? How do you do that? How have you done that?
Well, I am trying every day. It is tough in a civil service environment with rigid job classifications and, a big labor town, strong labor unions. Innovation, change isn't always welcomed by everybody, but yet we still have to try to move this organization forward. So one thing we recently did is we embarked on an ambitious strategic planning process. This started in 2023, and we wanted to develop a bold new vision for the San Francisco Public Library. Previously, our mission statement dated from 1996. Pretty standard fare, free and open access to information, celebrating the joys of reading, yada, yada. Could have been any town, USA. So I identified approximately 30 of our best and brightest staff, influencers, dynamos from throughout the organization. And I assembled them as a group of staff ambassadors that would be intimately involved from start to finish in development of the new strategic plan. And they helped us, develop a new vision, mission, strategic priorities, core values. And I have continued to assemble them periodically. I just brought them together twice in the past 3 months. And, my mission, my directive to them is that they're going to be engaged in this process until we reach that promised land in 2030. And, at a minimum, they're going to be a feedback team to help us keep the pulse of the organization, check in with them. But I'm also going to leverage them as a design team. So they're going to be on different work groups, committees. They're going to chair, special projects. And so it's really about cultivating that atmosphere of co-creation and innovation from within and involving the staff as much as you can to be leaders in that effort.
I love it, Michael. Yeah, we've borrowed and are planning on borrowing some of your team and what you're doing in San Francisco as we kind of focus on our update of our strategic plan. So love that. We've been following what you've been doing. So Dianne, I'm going to ask you that same question, but then I'm going to ask you if your strategic plan has played a role in any innovative programming or library system changes, to answer that question, but also fostering of the culture of experimentation and innovation among your staff as well.
We have an unfair advantage in that being a small rural library, we have almost no bureaucracy. So when we get an idea in the morning, we can implement it that afternoon. And our community has so many needs that when we have staff or volunteers in our community who have an interest in learning more about something or helping facilitate programs, this community needs it. So we really focus in on what energizes us. And then together with that, a big part of our strategy, and we don't have a strategic plan in writing as such, but our strategy is because our tax base is so small in our town that at budget time, we're competing against police and fire. So the library focuses a lot on essential services to be competitive for some of that money. So I'm talking to you from our telehealth room, the first telehealth room in a public library in the nation. We've gotten grants to put up internet towers in the community. So a lot of those essential services, disaster response, those are the kind of things we do. And then just one small example, we give throughout the year many grants to staff, maybe $200, $300, and say, what program would you like to put on? And here's your money to do that.
Wow, love that. Love that. Sonia, similar questions, strategic planning pieces, as well as the fostering of the culture and experimentation and innovation. How do you do that among your staff? How do you make that happen in such a large organization as BCPL?
Well, I think it's really important that the messaging about innovation and the value of experimentation, it has to be throughout the organization, but it also has to come from the person at the top. So if the library director or the library dean is not talking about innovation in libraries, that is a problem. So I always make it a point to talk about the evolution of libraries. I've been in libraries for 20, 25 years now, and what libraries were like back then is totally different from what libraries are today. But in order for us to get from there to where we are today, we as a profession needed to lean into the unknown and lean into the innovation that comes with working with communities. As our communities evolve, as their needs evolve, as their expectations evolve, so too do we have to evolve. I tell my staff famously, I feel like it should become a drinking game because I say it so much, but I'm always telling my people, just throw spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. And encouraging people to just try things. I have a fantastic group of people that work for BCPL, but I note that they tend to they're very perfectionist. And I think that a lot of that comes from a good place. They're passionate about the work that they do. They genuinely care about the community and they want to do right by the community. And we're also funded by taxpayers, right? So there is this need and this desire to be ethical stewards of taxpayer dollars, right? And so people just want to do everything perfectly and just right. And then sometimes that lends itself towards overanalysis paralysis. And so I tell people, like, you got to have perspective, right? Like, we are not in the caves of Afghanistan or Pakistan hunting Osama bin Laden, right? We are not doing brain surgery on people. It's the public library. Have perspective, right? You put up a display, you do a program, you add a book to the collection, and it doesn't hit with the community, nobody is going to die, right? You just take your lumps, learn your lessons from the thing that didn't work as well as you thought it would, and figure out how do you move forward. So just encouraging people to embrace making mistakes, and demonstrating what happens, what it is that when people make mistakes, right? Heads are not going to roll. Nobody's going to die. You know, it's not that deep, right? And so just creating that safe space for people to just try things and see what happens, and then celebrating people's successes, and letting them know, hey, you know, if it didn't work out well this time, that's okay. We're going to try again the next time, and it's okay. Here at BCPL, we are actively rewriting job descriptions. We have the flexibility to do so because we are not a county agency. We have our own we have our own separate HR. Our staff are not county staff, so we have a lot of flexibility to craft those job descriptions, and just making sure that there's language embedded within those job descriptions, particularly for administrative and managerial and supervisory roles, that talks about innovation is really critical. Making sure that we're weaving that into our recruitment processes, that when we are interviewing new candidates for BCPL, we want to make sure that they have that growth mindset. And lastly, our foundation for Baltimore County Public Library has been extremely supportive. A year ago, they relaunched micro grants, and that has been such a wellspring of opportunity for people at BCPL, where they can propose innovative ideas that they have and then get funding towards those ideas that they have. So in the past year, our foundation has disseminated close to $1 million in innovation grants towards different ideas that staff have in the organization, and we're really, really proud of that.
Wow, thanks for sharing all of that, Sonia. Hey, Jamar, anything to add about the culture, experimentation, innovation, strategic planning? How is that played into, or you know, if you didn't have if you don't have a formal one, how does that work?
You know, in past, I haven't really, and this is probably not a very popular opinion, I really haven't been a big fan of strategic plans or strategic planning. I just think that in this age of library work, our needs are changing rapidly and too fast. And what happens, especially in large institutions that you have to be, that are heavily bureaucratic. I mean, by the time you're able to implement the change, the change is outdated. And so I think that libraries that flourish, that stay cutting edge, are libraries that that do have a strategic plan, something just a roadmap, but they operate very organically and very holistically. To what Sonia basically said in a nutshell. I mean, you try something, and if it works, you keep doing it. If it doesn't work, then you stop, and you move on to the next thing. I have in past have made innovation kind of part. Innovation really does not need to be it shouldn't be an outlier. Innovation and creativity should be it should be a part of, it should be an expectation. It should not be something that just happens. It should be an expectation. And so with our management team here, I mean, they're all responsible, to come up with a special project each fiscal year. And and being a leader, I think it's just incumbent upon us just to make sure that our people are empowered to innovate, and that we make sure that they have the resources that they need to plan and execute these things that they're trying to accomplish, to push the library forward.
Yeah, I'm going to add another word to what everybody was just saying, and that's the agility. And Dianne talked about it. Sonia talked about it, right? Jamar, you just talked about it. The being agile as well, and not being so bureaucracy and not which leads to my next question. Sonia kind of talked a little bit about it, so I won't start with her, but I'll ask. I'll start with you, Michael. How do you handle those? Sonia talked about perfectionists, right? We know a lot of those in our profession. So how do you handle failures or projects that don't turn out as expected?
I think you just have to learn from them as much as possible. Out here in Silicon Valley, the the catchphrase is fail often, fail fast, fail often, and you just have to learn from it. And one way you can do that is just building in like an after action debrief with your team. And hopefully it's not punitive, it's just really a candid conversation, and just kind of reviewing where you've been, what went well, what didn't, what are we going to do better next time. I think that's always a good question. If we had to do it all over again, what would we change? Just really not rocket science, but just a basic framework for review.
Yeah, something keep doing, stop doing, start doing, and continue doing, right? That's it. Hey, Jamar, what about you?
Just the same. My leadership style just tends to um, flourish in a climate of of grace. I think that we all need grace. I, as a leader, needs grace. Our staff needs grace. Our community needs grace, because these are just some very precarious times that we're living in. And all of us survived the pandemic, where the world was just pulled from underneath us. And I think that was one era, that was one season to where, we didn't have a framework, we did not have a template, we didn't have a roadmap. I couldn't call you, Kelvin, and say, Kelvin, how do you manage a pandemic, even though you're an expert in running public libraries, because that's something you've never done before. And we, as an industry, we prevailed in that area. We served our constituents well. It did wonders for our brand. And so we have to take that same approach with with innovation and projects that our teams are executing. It's something that they've never done before, and if they fail, then we have an organizational climate that grants grace, and we learn from it and we move on.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to something Sonia said, about we're libraries, nobody's going to die. And so I use that same thing, having been in the military, and I can say, hey, this is what I used to have to be worried about. We don't worry about the same things here. Dianne, anything about handling failures of projects, especially how you guys how you spoke about, you started in the morning, you have an idea, executed in the evening.
Yeah, we just keep it moving.
Mhm.
Well, we always have so many ideas in the background that we're on to the next thing. But we have found, I think, all of our failures, there has been a piece in it that led to something else. We met somebody, we made a connection, and on to the next idea.
Thanks. Sonia, anything to wrap us on this question? You kind of started us along the way, so anything to add?
Yeah, I like Michael, like I encourage reflection, what went well, what didn't go well, what lessons do we learn? And not really being punitive about it. Also, I always encourage people to pilot ideas, especially when it's a big idea. Like, let's start out small. Like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? Just start out small, try it in a way that, the stakes are low, see what happens. And then if it's a success, then you build from there. And lastly, I always encourage collaboration. And this organization, any organization I work, it is not ever acceptable for people to be lone wolves and to be out in left field, going rogue, doing their own thing. They need to be working in collaboration with their colleagues across the library system. And so in my experience, ideas are made better when you bring other people to the table and to help shape that idea. And then innovation is easier when you're doing it together as a team or in a group versus all that pressure being put on you by yourself to make this thing work. So that's kind of how we approach it here.
Love it. Yeah. I'm looking at the time. Okay, we can get through a few more of these questions. I'm going to start with you with this question with you, Jamar, having such success in Wilmington. Tell us how you capture community feedback, and how are you using that to adjust your programming? Or how have you used it to adjust your programming?
You know, this may sound like an over simplification, but what we've learned is that having an enhanced social media presence is the key to capturing good qualitative data and getting great community feedback. And so when we would have our events, we would do I mean, we would just sit and we would analyze the comments from the pictures, from the postings, and that was very, that was great qualitative data. Like, people would, would post in threads, the library meeting space, it was too warm in there, or the moderator wasn't, energetic, enough. And then we upload, all of our events, we uploaded them on YouTube, and we would analyze the comments there, and then people would send us messages. And so most of the comments was, were solicited and unsolicited, but having an enhanced social media profile. I mean, we added part of our marketing budget to boost certain posts. So when we would solicit feedback for events, we would pay several $100s and boost that post so that we could get as many people as possible in our service area to see the post and respond accordingly.
Wow. Okay. I'm learning. I'm taking notes as well. Hey, Sonia, how do you capture that community feedback and do any adjustments?
Yeah, again, it's a lot of what Jamar said, paying attention to what people are saying in your community, positive or negative, and through all the various channels. And we do capture community feedback in a variety of methods. We reopened one of our libraries after an extensive renovation last year, and those libraries contain the first ever recording studios in our library system. So new and innovative to us, not necessarily new to other libraries. And based on that feedback and that response, people were just like so excited that they had a resource like that available in their library. We were able to expand on that. And just last month, we launched the circulation of musical instruments in our Library of Things to tie in with that recording studio. So you can now come to the library and you can check out a guitar, a ukulele, a mandolin, bongo drums, keyboards, all for free at the public library. And then tying it to the recording studios, you can learn how to play guitar at home and then come to the recording studios and record your own original music. So again, I think that addition to our Library of Things really came from the community and the positive feedback that we were getting about the recording studios, and how do we build on this, and then how do we think of ways that we can program around those recording studios and now these musical instruments. And so that just paying attention and keeping your ear to the ground and then being responsive. And then I'll add, when we purchased the musical instruments, that's technically a pilot, right? We didn't like go out and buy like $5 million worth of instruments. We started out very small with, I don't know, like $20,000 worth of an investment that came from a donor. And we were like, okay, let's just pick a few instruments and let's see how it goes. And then we started letting people know that this was a resource that was available. And like within 2 days, everything was checked out or everything was on hold, which is phenomenal. And so that's also a piece of community feedback, seeing responsiveness or sometimes lack of response, to let you know, are you on the right track or not?
Yeah, using all those tools. Michael, what about yourself?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I've lost track where we're at.
You got so engrossed with that great response from Sonia, right? I said, tell us how you capture community feedback and how are you using that to adjust your programming?
Excellent question. Well, when we did our strategic plan in 2023, 2024, we did extensive community engagement. We have 11 supervisorial districts in San Francisco, so we made sure that we engaged stakeholders, community leaders, influencers from every segment in our community for developing the new vision and mission for San Francisco Public Library. As far as like ongoing, we do measure patron satisfaction on a monthly basis. So our internal analytics group, they'll leverage our ILS patron database and they'll fire off, I don't know, probably like 3,000 random surveys to patrons every month. So a statistically valid sample. And we measure patron satisfaction in key categories like satisfaction with our physical collections, satisfaction with our digital collections, safety and security, cleanliness of our facilities, the level of assistance being provided by staff, our website, technology access. So, we want to measure that we're meeting the needs of our community, and we also want to stay in tune in case one of those metrics starts to go in the wrong direction.
Mm.
My
You're
mouse
muted, Kelvin. There you go.
my mouse wasn't cooperating. I got it. So Dianne, anything you like to add around that community, feedback, and since you're definitely from a smaller community, that share your information with our attendees.
Got one fun and one serious. The fun one, fingers crossed, is we are launching a social media campaign called If You Ran the Library, and there'll be $1,000 prize, and the community will vote. If you had $1,000 to implement something in the library, what would it be? So of course, we're hoping that gets a lot of engagement with the library, but it'll also generate a lot of ideas about what people care about. So we're looking forward to that. The other one, we just finished a 3-year grant from Google through National Digital Inclusion Alliance. Part of that grant is we had $20,000 each year for 3 years to give out devices to the community, which in a town of 2,600, that's a huge amount of money. And so first we tried to do it on our own, come to the library, have a session with the digital navigator and get a device. And what we found is people would say, oh yeah, I want a new laptop. So what we learned was really forming these deep partnerships with nonprofits in our region, the Crisis Center, the homeless shelters, the Veterans Association, and then with their staff helping to identify people who really needed these devices. And I think for all of us, it's much easier to reach the people who are library users. The trick is, how do we get to those people who are not library users? And that's been successful for us.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm gonna ask you I'm gonna start with you. This next question then. How do you balance honoring the library's traditional mission while also pushing for innovation?
Well, in 2010, we had no taxpayer funding. I came to the library to a board meeting when I was new in town, and the volunteers, everything was donation, everything was volunteer. And they said, we have 14 months left of money in the bank until we have to close. So that gave me permission to throw everything out, say, we have a clean slate. What if we did everything differently? And became so important to the community that then if we were going to close, people would really care. And so 15 years now, this year, the city wanted to eliminate our budget. We had so many people show up 2 months in a row at city council that they filled council chambers down the hall and out into the parking lot saying, we love our library. And so it's not official yet, but it looks like not only are they not going to eliminate our budget, they're almost doubling our budget. So
Wow.
we're all about innovation and media buzz. I think that's a lot of it. So we do not do a lot of traditional library services. We don't have story times. We don't do a lot of that. We're really, technology is our focus.
Wow. Hey, Michael, how do you honor the library's traditional mission, especially in San Francisco, and pushing for innovation as well?
We're going for it. Our new vision is a democratic, equitable, and vibrant San Francisco for everyone, where our library workers, our library system is helping our residents to live their best lives. And our new mission is to connect our diverse communities to learning, opportunities, and each other. So I just shared our vision and I shared our mission. I didn't say reading or books one time. And we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We have 5 strategic priorities. We are still a champion for literacy. We are still a resource provider. That's where you're going to see the traditional service lines. And we're still very focused on delivering the core services of the public library. But the more forward-looking strategic priorities, we want to be a cultural amplifier. We want to celebrate the culture, the diversity, the heritage of our diverse communities in San Francisco. We also want to be a thoughtful navigator to guide our residents to the library services and other services available in the community to help people be successful and attain their goals. And finally, we want to be a community catalyzer. This is one of the unique value propositions of the public library, I believe, in 2025 and moving forward. We are the most democratic of institutions, so we have the unique ability to foster community and foster shared experiences that bring our community together. So that's our framework for how we're trying to balance tradition and innovation.
Sonia, anything to add to that? Honoring the library's traditional mission, the books, and we get asked that all the time. Are libraries still valid, or do people still go to the library? So how do you balance that?
We still, make all of the necessary investments so that we have a robust collection. And that's part of our legacy of Baltimore County Public Library. I am the 5th library director for Baltimore County Public Library. The 2nd library director was named Charlie Robinson. I remember learning about him when I was going to library school, where he famously said, give them what they want when it comes to your collection. And that was really groundbreaking at the time. It was less about giving people what we thought that they should read and just giving them what they want. So even if it's trashy, doesn't have a whole lot of literary merit, not well written, if that's what they want to read, then just give it to them. And so we invest a lot in our collection. And so I feel like that investment is paying off. We have high circulation. We're hitting all the marks when it comes to readership and traditional print literacy here at BCPL. So then that gives us space to also focus on other things outside of that because we're not under investing in our traditional mission. And we always just make sure that our innovative ideas align with our vision and our mission and our values. And that gives us permission to say no sometimes when things don't align. And we always might try to make sure that there is a clear why for why do we want to try this thing. Just because or you have an itch, that's not a good enough reason. There has to be demonstrable alignment with our vision and our mission and our values. Like San Francisco Public Library, we ultimately want to make sure that people have good quality of life. And sometimes that good quality of life is going to come from a book and the traditional things that we offer. But more and more today in the 21st century, what that means for people is going beyond what our traditional service model is in libraries. And we need to lean into that because the day we stop leaning into that is the day that we become obsolete. So if only for self-preservation, we need to be able to lean into the future and lean into innovation and opportunities to evolve.
Yeah, love it. Hey, Jamar, how do you again, you get a couple of perspectives because you can talk, Wilmington, and you can talk, Cuyahoga County, that those traditional things and pushing that innovation.
I would just, like I said, I'll speak on both. We still, even though we were, in Wilmington, we were a vibrant, cultural, hub. We still kept literacy in the book at the epicenter of our work. We hosted close to 100, high profile, celebrities, authors, and majority of them had a recently published book. When popular, New York Times best-selling, books come out, especially if it's a pop cultural icon that we think our community would like, we'll buy 400 or 500 copies and just do a mass book giveaway. And you'd be surprised at how many people will just come to the library, adults, for Viola Davis's new autobiography, something that's hot off the press. And it's just something that people always like, something that is free. So we strive to be complimentary. Here in Cuyahoga County, we're building a new library, and we're trying to deal with, like all of us, this phenomena or this epidemic of kids not reading by grade level. And so our newest branch, which will be finished, which will be opening the 1st of January, will have an early childhood center there, so that we can start from birth with kids reading and having a relationship with the library. We serve 47 different communities. The greater Cleveland area is probably the most diverse area in the nation. And so I recently had, somebody reach out to me, a customer complaint about, we have books, we offer a collection of books that are written in Arabic. And we had somebody challenge a couple of the books in Arabic about the content in it. And there's nobody on staff that writes or speaks in Arabic. And so that has pushed us, that's pushed us in the corner. But even amid innovation, we're complementary. We've kept literacy and the book, at the forefront of the work that we've done, and we've garnered great results in both places.
Okay, I love it. Love it. I'm gonna try to get 2 more questions in. So with you, Sonia, what emerging technologies excite you the most for libraries in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think it's about AI. I think we're kind of like where everybody else is right now, just trying to figure out what AI is and what it's going to mean for libraries and the services that we provide. But I definitely think that's going to be the next journey over the next few years. The other thing that I'm excited about, it's not an emerging technology, but it is an innovation. It's the changing definition of what work is in 21st century libraries, and figuring out what that looks like. That the skills that might have been needed when I first started in libraries is totally different from what the skills are going to be needed today and tomorrow. So figuring out what that looks like, and making sure that we're getting the right people with the right skills and the right attitudes and the right places to work in our libraries, I think is really going to be critical.
Wow, that certainly. So same for me as well. Dianne, what about you? What's potentially exciting you in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, autonomous vehicles could be a huge game changer in rural areas. We do not have public transportation. We do not have ride sharing here. And a shocking number of people don't have cars, and we're very rural. So if we could get a subscription model to autonomous vehicles so that people could get to the library, and they've done that in Finland, library, I think it was Finland, Toyota gave an electric vehicle to a library to check out, just like anything else from our library of things. So that's one thing. Artificial intelligence, I'm teaching a promptathon class tonight that will lead into a hackathon, and then we want to do a civic hackathon. So if you're driving down the road and you see a pothole, how do you report it? Our group has made an app so that they can report the pothole. We're doing a lot of work, both staff facing and public facing, because in rural areas, people watch the news, hear about AI, but don't have a lot of chance that they're aware of to use it. And so it's our obligation to give them that societal capital of what is AI. So we're doing a lot of work around that. We were fortunate to be chosen by Dell. We had their AI experts from all over the world working with Pottsboro Library and how we combine all our data sources. How do you combine Overdrive with our ILS, with our community numbers, and make that into one database that you can query in natural language? It's game changing.
But all exciting, the autonomous vehicle, that was I got to figure that one out myself here. And we got a lot of them. So that's something I got to put that on my to-do list as well. Michael, what about you?
Well, I'm a relative Luddite here. I'm Gen X. I think I was the last member of my generation to get a desktop computer, last one to get a mobile phone, a smartphone, broadband, you name it. But for San Francisco Public Library, I'm not trying to be the most tech forward library, which is counterintuitive because we are in the tech capital where all the AI is happening all around us. But I do agree with Sonia that AI is going to be a game changer. The city and county of San Francisco just recently introduced Copilot Chat for all government workers, 35,000 strong here. And so we all essentially have the licensed version to ChatGPT now. So it remains to be seen like what efficiencies we reap within my workforce and, how much capacity is freed up. But I think on the horizon, the increased sophistication of chatbots and their emergence, I'm sure library vendors are going to be selling us more of this kind of application. I do think AI can support digitization efforts. We're never going to have enough staff capacity to do this labor-intensive activity. So, getting images scanned, for example, and having AI give us the first pass on cataloging and classification with the metadata, and then allowing our expert staff to come in behind that and make sure that the records are in good shape. I forget which brilliant technologist said this, that AI won't replace people, but people that use AI will replace people that don't use it. And I think there could be some truth to that in our industry as well.
Yeah, totally agree. Hey, Jamar, any thoughts on the technologies that are exciting to you next 5 to 10 years implementation?
I don't have anything, I echo the sentiments, my colleagues on the panel, but I'm really excited, about the prospect of, of us taking our spaces and activating them and, and connecting our communities with emerging, with these emerging technologies, because one thing that libraries have proven over and over again, that every paradigm shift that we have engaged in is that technology has never, replaced us. It's made us even more vibrant, and it has compelled us to have more efficient and more robust community engagement efforts. So I'm really excited about the community engagement. I'm also here in Cuyahoga County, we shifted from a proprietary LIS system to the open market, and it has saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it has proven to be more efficient, more effective. And so I'm excited about the option, just as us being library directors, we're business people. I'm really excited at the prospect of having more options and more opportunity to have cost savings and to use that revenue to to combat inflation and to put back into our organizations.
Excellent, thank you. So we've got 2 minutes before we wrap. So any final remarks from you, Sonia? 30 seconds, 30 to 45 seconds. Any final thoughts about innovative library, creativity, anything you want to leave for the audience?
Nothing that I haven't already said. We just need to lean into the unknown and always be thinking about how do we center our communities. and making sure that if we're leaning into innovation, that it's something that is meaningful to our communities.
Thanks, Sonia. Dianne, final
For
30
me-
seconds.
Yeah, for many libraries, staying the same is more dangerous than change. People are afraid of change, but if you look at it, staying the same may not work going forward.
Jamar.
I would say that I'd say that 75% of our efforts need to be put towards library advocacy. We don't need library users, we need library advocates, because everything that we thought that was impossible or incapable of occurring is occurring right now. And so, those of us that have dedicated funding and millages, and mill levies and things of that sort, it is impossible for there to be a movement for those to be, overturned. And so those of us who are in library systems that are thriving and doing well, this is not the time to ever coast or ever fall asleep. That means that you have to put your foot on the gas even harder.
Hey, Michael, you get the final thought before I close out.
All right. I just want to give a shout out to my hometown library, Richland Library, Columbia,
Yes.
South Carolina, one of the most innovative library systems in the United States of
Yes.
America. Go to their website, check them out.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to say thank you to Dianne, Sonia, Jamar, Michael, for an excellent panel. We probably could talk for another hour or so. We certainly had a lot of other questions, and I know the attendees did as well. So I just want to say thank you again for participating in the panel discussion and sharing such tremendous thoughts for everybody. And I know that folks have to get to their sessions now. So I want to say on behalf of myself and the Innovative Library 2.0, thank you guys. Thank you, my friends, and for participating and letting me, for working with us. So I'll talk to some of you soon. All right, take care.
Thank you, everyone. That was terrific. Thanks, Kelvin. Thanks, Sonia. Thanks, Jamar. Thanks, Michael. And thanks to Dianne.
All
Take
right,
care, everybody. We've got a whole set of sessions coming up right now.
All right, Steve. So I'll see you around 2:30.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Take care,
you.
guys. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Have a good conference.
Thanks. Bye-bye.